Do you want a simple low-tech tank that actually lasts? Most Walstad videos online, they teach you how to set up for the look, but they don't actually copy the book. They skip all the logic, and within 6 months their setup crashes and it leaves you scratching your head. But in this video I'll show you 5 simple steps to help you build a real Walstad tank. It's rooted, it's resilient, and it's planted to last for the long haul. Step 1, we want to add soil to our tank. Here I'm using Leamington organic topsoil. Now down at Walstad in the book recommends using Miracle Grow organic potting soil, something with no fertiliser, it's organic. But in the UK you've banned the use of peat, so there's no peat in Miracle Grow organic anymore. So it's just like wood. Now wood breaks down and releases nutrients, but it doesn't hold nutrients, which is what peat does. So in the UK, Leamington topsoil or John Hines No. 3, it contains clay which will bind nutrients and hold them available for plant roots. It's important, this. And as you can see, I've got like a little cardboard template on the outside. What I'm going to do is on the outside of the template I'm going to add substrate. So once I remove the template you won't be able to see the soil from the outside of the tank. I just want to use like escaping gravel in this tank, so I don't want to use anything where you can see the soil. I've also added oyster crushed chicken grit to this, so it's like whenever the water goes acidic it will dissolve the chicken grit, the oyster shells, which will release GH and KH. And as you can see, I'm adding some of the substrate, some of the gravel around the outside now, just to hold the soil in place while I work. So the soil's on the inside and the gravel's on the outside. Step 2, now we're going to add our gravel, and it's important to use gravel. I know a lot of people use sand and that just makes a mess of what we're trying to achieve. We want to get oxygen down to the soil below, and the bacteria that's breaking down the soil to create nutrients, it wants oxygen, wants oxygenated water. So we need to use 1 inch of soil and then 1 inch of gravel so that the oxygenated water can get down and the bacteria can use the oxygen to break the nutrients down in the soil, and then it releases nutrients and CO2. Step 3, and everyone's favourite steps, planting. Now in the Walstad method what you need to use is heavy root feeding plants. I'm using a mixture of crypts. This one's Crypt undulata, which I've shamelessly nicked the idea from Mr. Fishbert, Rob Brook. I seen his in his discus tank and I thought I've got to have some of them crypts. So I got myself some for this tank, and truth be told, crypts won't do much in a Walstad tank over the space of 12 months. They'll probably melt, transition, and they'll probably just grow away slowly. They won't change massively, but they'll send out roots and they'll make sure that the soil is getting oxygen down with their big heavy roots. A lot of people planting Walstad tanks online, or what they call Walstad tanks, they just plant stems, and stems they haven't got a heavy root structure. They like feeding from the water column, and the whole point in a dirty tank is we want plants that are feeding at the roots, and they're sending out big heavy root structures that are releasing oxygen to the bacteria in the soil. The bacteria in the soil are breaking the nutrients down and feeding it to the plant roots. The point is with the dirty tank is you don't want tons of nutrients in the water column, you want the plants feeding at the roots, and that's what the goal is. So we want big heavy root feeding plants like crypts, swords, sage, val, things like that, by getting the roots down, oxygenating the soil. The soil's getting broken down by the bacteria. The bacteria is using the oxygen and then it's releasing CO2 and nutrients, and this is the symbiosis, this is the ecosystem in action. This is the goal of the Walstad method, is to get these bacteria breaking these nutrients down and releasing them to the plants, and the plants are uptaking it and purifying the water. Boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats. Boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats. I love this tune. Now the next plant we're getting in here, I don't know whether you noticed by the way first, but I wasn't using, everyone talks about using forks to strip the rock wool out of the roots of the plants. I use my fingers, and what's that metal doing to the roots of the plants? It's probably ripping all the skin off the roots, and it's probably damaging them all. And then when you plant your roots, the roots are probably all dying. So like, what's the point? Use your fingers. Like, look after them roots. That's what you're buying. You're buying the roots. Now this is the reason why I've set the tank up Sag. I want to grow a ton of Sag out so I can use it to do a bigger tank in maybe 12 months time. As you can see, I've used Crypt Windettii Brown, and now I'm planting my Dwarf Sag. In case you hadn't noticed, Dwarf Sag is probably one of my favourite plants, but look what I'm doing, the technique here. I'm getting the roots right at the tip of the roots, the top of the root, and I'm pushing it right down to the bottom. I'm pushing the plants right to the bottom of the soil, and then I'm pulling the stem up so the roots are just below the surface of the substrate, and that gives it a good anchorage, give it a good tug, and make sure it's firm in the substrate. Step 4. Now all the planting's done, we want to fill the tank up with water. Yeah, there isn't really much to say, is there? Like, you just add water slowly. Make sure you don't damage that cap. What's the point of spending all that time making sure your inch of topsoil is all perfectly fine, and then you don't damage it by pouring water straight onto the cap? So just be careful. It's that simple. I'm putting a sponge filter in there, and everyone says filterless fish tank and all that, but I just want it for just to get some CO2 in there, so it'll be oxygenating CO2 in the water. Then that's all I'm using it for. I could even take them sponges off. I'm not interested in the sponges. I want the plants to use all the ammonia. Don't want the tank cycling. In an ideal world, them plants are using all the ammonia, and we're not getting nitrites and nitrates and all that, if truth be told. As you can see, I'm just getting the water in little by little. One thing I've noticed is people going on about if you damage the cap, if you expose nutrients into the water column, it'll create a big algae bloom. That's not really true. Now, if you disturb old substrate and stuff, and you know the water's gone lean, there isn't many fertilisers in the water. There's my head. That's quite unfortunate. Yeah. Yeah, but seriously, it's just a myth. I've exposed soil loads of times. I've had a little cloud of soil, little explosion of soil in my tank, and I've just got a siphon in there, got the soil out, done a little water change, and there's just been absolutely no issues. Like, and if you expose it and your soil's hanging out, just keep a bit of spare cap safe and just toss it over it. I've never had an issue. I've had soil escape loads of times, I've never had an issue. I haven't had like a big algae nuclear meltdown like people tend to. These people who are saying that, like, I don't think they've ever run a data tank. I've listened to the way they've talked about data tanks, and I don't believe they've ever run one for any period. I've noticed that when they talk about low-tech tanks, algae outbreaks are really manageable, but apparently in a data tank they're not. But it's the same. It's just a low-tech planted tank. It's not different, it's not mystic. It's the same as using aqua soil. Step 5, the aerial advantage. Floating plants or plants, submerged growing plants, growing out the water. These can use the CO2 from the atmosphere, they get higher light, so they outcompete stuff like algae for nutrients in the water. They can't outcompete your plants because your plants are eating the soil, they're eating the nutrients at the roots. So there we go, guys. There's 5 simple steps to setting up the Walstad Method Aquarium. Add an inch of dirt, add an inch of cap, plant heavily with root feeding plants, fill it up with water, and then add your floating plants or as an aerial advantage. If you like this video, if you found it helpful, please give it a like. If you're interested in seeing how to balance and maintain this tank, please consider subscribing, and please check out the next video. In the meantime, on what plants eat.